I'm Eric Kelly from KellyPlanet.com. This is a closer look at Star Trek The Next Generation, Season 1, Episode 3, The Naked Now. If you are thinking this title sounds familiar, you're not the only one. The Naked Time was the 4th episode in the original series, and this is very similar. It's like they forgot they had 26 first season episodes to do and were like, hey, let's just modify a script from 1966. No one will notice.
Captain's log. Stardate 41209.2. We are running at warp 7 to...
Look at the stars. They are not running at warp anything. Unlike the last 2 episodes, we start off with the normal pre-credits exterior shot with the captain's log voiceover, which is done a lot from here on out. Picard goes on to further explain the reason for the rendezvous is that they have been receiving strange messages from the Sakowski.
Yeah, go ahead! Woo! Do it!
Captain, what we've just heard is...
He said, we've, contraction counter.
Impossible.
Report.
I believe that last sound was an emergency hatch being blown.
Well, that's not good, so they get an away team together to check it out. Again, they leave Worf on the ship and take Tasha instead. The Sakowski, named after Russian rocket scientist Konstantin Eduardovich Sakowski, is an Oberth-class ship, and that's named after Hermann Julius Oberth, an Austro-Hungarian-Romanian-German rocket scientist of Transylvanian Saxon descent. Wow. And I think this is the first time that we see one of these. On board, the ship looks a mess. There's no life signs, and no one is around. Riker finds a video recording of the bridge, which is indeed in vacuum. Good thing they didn't transport there. And Data corrects something a lot of people get wrong pretty often.
You were right. Somebody blew out the hatch. They were all sucked out into space.
Correction, sir. That's blown out.
He said, that's. Tasha taps into the comm system and says that everyone in engineering is frozen. That's kind of odd. LaForge finds some people sickles too. Apparently the environmental control systems evacuated all the heat into space, and everyone on the ship is dead. And now, 4 minutes in, we get the title sequence. Okay, Troy is in an entirely different kind of uniform. I guess I should have addressed this earlier, but I'll catch up in future episodes. Figuring there might be a contagion, Picard orders the transporters to be set at maximum decontamination, because I guess they're only at mild decontamination normally, and that the away team be examined upon return.
If you were any more perfect, Data, I'd have to write you up in a Starfleet medical textbook.
I'm already listed in several biomechanical texts, Doctor.
He said, I'm...
Normal all across. Except, why are you perspiring, Lieutenant?
I suppose because you have it too hot in here. What else would it be?
Doesn't sound like you, Geordi.
Everybody passes their medical exams, but as you can see, Geordi isn't quite himself. The whole thing seems awfully familiar to Riker, and us too, and asks Data to search Starfleet records for a similar situation. Data says this will take several hours. Of course, this was written before we had things like Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, so in hindsight it's kind of weird that something as advanced as Data has to interact with a computer with a physical interface. Oh look, Wesley made himself a handheld tractor beam. I bet you that won't be important later. And also for later.
Take the helm, Mr. Crusher.
It's the captain's voice.
With this, I can pretend he's ordering me to take the Enterprise anywhere.
Chief Engineer, report to the bridge.
What do you think?
I think the captain's lucky you're on his side.
Riker and Data are still searching for a precedent to their predicament.
Constitution-class Starship Enterprise, Captain James T. Kirk, commanding.
Similar conditions.
Picard references Captain Kirk. This is the first time his name is mentioned in TNG. So yeah, the same thing is happening to them that happened to the original series Enterprise. Some gobbledygook about complex water molecules interacting with the body's carbon and affecting the brain like alcohol. Fortunately, Dr. McCoy's antidote is in the database and is sent to sickbay. Uh-oh, Tasha is acting weird now too. We can assume she was infected by Geordi, who would have also infected Wesley, and now Troy as well.
What is it? Never mind. I'll find what I need myself. Ship stores will have it.
No, they wouldn't. Replicators are a thing. Okay, maybe they're not in canon yet.
How much danger from that star? Worst case.
Any stellar material that threw this way, we could still outrun on half impulse power.
That is actually correct. In Star Trek canon, full impulse is 167 million miles per hour, so even half of that could easily outrun stellar debris which, as far as we have ever detected, travels at 23 million miles per hour at most. Picard calls the chief engineer to the bridge, which in this case is Lieutenant Commander McDougal. This is the only time we see her. Assistant Chief Engineer Shimoda, who's not wearing a uniform for some reason, is called to sickbay.
Hi, Jim. Was that the captain ordering you to medical?
Which would leave no one here on duty.
What? There are literally other Starfleet personnel all over the place. So he leaves engineering in the hands of Wesley. Yeah, because that would happen.
Reporting is ordered, sir.
I did no such thing. Attention, all decks, all divisions. Effective immediately, I have handed over control of this vessel to Acting Captain Wesley Crusher.
See, the voice recorder Wesley had from earlier seems a bit too easy. My phone can do that. So Wesley sets himself up in engineering, and the polywater intoxicants is spreading throughout the ship. Wesley says he had set up his tractor beam thing as a repulsor beam so he can isolate himself, but force fields are a thing, and those can be projected pretty much anywhere on the ship. I guess we don't know that yet.
And there was a rather peculiar limerick. There was a young lady from Venus whose body was shaped like a...
Captain to security, come in!
I don't understand their humor either.
Picard sends Data to go find his chief of security.
Captain Picard ordered me to escort you to sickbay, Lieutenant.
Did he say when?
I'm sure he meant now.
He said, I'm... Uh-oh, Tasha wants to seduce Data.
You are fully functional, aren't you?
Of course, but...
How fully?
In every way, of course. I am programmed in multiple techniques.
Yeah, so this happens. Now, this is a problem. That Shimoda guy pulled out all the isolinear chips so the engines don't work. Remember, they are right next to a collapsing star. They can't get to Wesley. And I hate to point out the obvious, but couldn't they just beam in there? This isn't a force field. It's just his repulsor beam thing, and it's only pointed at the door.
Or he has a team at the door.
Can you short out the power?
Yes, I can. But it's going to take some time.
Do it.
Bill?
Holy crap, Deanna calls Riker Bill. I guess this stuff is affecting Troy the same way as Tasha. Hey, there's Geordi again. It sure took Dr. Crusher a long time to synthesize the antidote. But wait, of course it turns out that Dr. McCoy's old formula doesn't work, and she figures out that the contagion is spread by physical touch. So now they're both infected too.
Captain, getting unusual readings now from the dwarf star.
Stand by on that for a moment.
Worf says dwarf star, and it was established at the beginning that, in fact, this is a red giant.
At least you're functioning.
Fully, Captain.
Data. Intoxication is a human condition. Your brain is different.
It's a stretch to say a biological condition could affect Data. At this point, Picard is not infected, and he supposedly gets it here from Beverly, but they never actually had skin-to-skin contact. Oh no, there goes that star, and a chunk is hurtling toward the Enterprise. We've already established that they can outrun it, but there is also a shockwave, and they can't outrun that at impulse speeds, but this is never addressed. McDougal finally disables Wesley's beam thing, and time is running out.
I estimate 14 minutes until that mask gets here.
14 minutes. Well, first, Picard's in Riker's chair. That never happens. Okay, so let's do some math. To our current knowledge, at 14 minutes, that means they are no closer to the star than about 5.36 million miles, which is about a sixth the distance of Mercury to our sun, so that's feasible. Good job. There is no way to get all those chips replaced in time, except Data could do it. Look at him go. Don't forget we still have the intoxication problem, and somehow Dr. Beverly figured out an antidote while she herself was all hot for Picard and tested on Geordi, and it works. Data needs another minute, and they say minute a whole bunch of times, to fix the engines, so Wesley hooks his repulsor beam thing up to the ship's tractor beam emitters, and he does this in a matter of seconds with his magic Wesley powers, and the Enterprise pushes off the Sakowski to increase the distance to the stellar debris. Of course, everybody is saved and inoculated.
Captain, something seemed to move us aside at the last minute.
Do we owe our thanks to Commander Data, sir?
Yes, and Wesley may have given us a few seconds, too.
It's only fair to mention Wesley in a log entry, sir.
Yeah, it's only fair to mention Wesley. He's the reason they were in danger in the first place.
Data.
I'm only going to tell you this just once. It never happened.
He does mention it later in canon.
Engage.
As I already said, this is a reworking of the original series episode, The Naked Time, and this was heavily mentioned by the cast when this came out. That episode was also referenced again in Lower Decks, where Naked Time took on a whole new meaning. I don't think this episode is as bad as it is considered these days, but Wesley's ridiculous abilities are a little hard to swallow. This is all leading up to him being an acting ensign, of course. Even if you buy the polywater intoxicating stuff affecting Data, you mean to tell me that Dr. Crusher's antidote also worked on Data? I guess. You may have noticed that the intoxicant had the same effect on all the main cast members that were female. I don't think that's quite fair, and it definitely wouldn't fly these days. That was Star Trek The Next Generation, Season 1, Episode 3, The Naked Now. I'm Eric Kelly from kellyplanet.com. Live long and prosper. Hi, it's me again, and if you liked that video, please hit the button so that I know, and if you didn't, well, that's okay too. Sometimes I miss stuff or I'm completely incorrect, and if that's the case, please let me know in the comments so I can fix my brain. Here are some other videos that I've done, and there's more Trek and other content from me on my website, kellyplanet.com. See you next time.